Greetings, fellow Trickers and Trickers. Our look at Season 3 of Star Trek Deep Space Nine now continues on with The Die is Cast. Dr. Bashir is eating lunch with Chief O'Brien on the Replomat while trying to begin the same kind of engaging and lively conversation that he would typically have with Garrick, who is still missing with Odo as they are investigating the bombing of Garrick's tailor shop. Bashir quickly finds, however, that O'Brien prefers to spend his lunch eating rather than talking, leaving the discussion very one-sided. Bashir misses his friend, and O'Brien is confident their runabout, the USS Mekong, has not been destroyed because debris from it hasn't been found. O'Brien is called Ops, where Tidron missions precede the decloaking of the Cardassian Romulan fleet. The fleet ignores the station's hails and proceeds through the wormhole to the Gamma Quadrant. Sisko orders the station to be put on red alert and immediately tells Dax to contact Starfleet Command. On the lead ship of the Cardassian Romulan fleet, Albert Tain and Garrick reflect upon their times together in the Obsidian Order. Garrick says he tends to look up a number of people once he returns to Cardassia Prime, including Gul Dukat. Tain feels that Garrick will be able to eliminate anyone after the current mission is completed. Garrick, however, feels uneasy when Tain insinuates that he's planning to have Mila eliminated, since he believes she knows too much about him. Garrick casually suggests sparing her, but Tain knows that Garrick is fond of the old housekeeper, mentioning that Mila always believed Garrick was innocent of the crime that got him exiled. Romulan Colonel Lovak enters and is introduced to Garrick, of whom he is immediately suspicious. Lovak informs them that the fleet has recloaked and are setting course to the Founder's homeworld at Warp 6, and a faster can make them detectable through their cloak by the Jem'Hadar. Tain tells Garrick that his first assignment is to extract all information as possible from Odo, who is being held in quarters surrounded by a force field, and a guard is posted outside the door. There, Garrick uses his usual fake politeness on Odo, who is angered by the captivity he suddenly found himself in. Garrick has certainly taken to his new position quickly, and he asks Odo for information on the Founders. Odo refuses, and instead tells him that Tain remains both Odo's and Garrick's enemy, even if it seems like Tain has been taking him back. They both tell each other that they should take the time to think about what's been said, with neither apparently backing down. Back at DS9, the senior staff, along with Security Chief Michael Eddington, is shown an intercepted transmission in the wardroom in which Tain lays out his plans to destroy the Dominion. Vice Admiral Todd explains that both the Romulan and Cardassian governments have denied any prior knowledge of the operation. And while they claim to be working on plans to stop Tain, it is believed they are happy to just sit back and wait, since the plan has a very real chance of succeeding. Starfleet is also unofficially in support of Tain, as Tom explains that while he certainly isn't hoping for war, but should there be one, he unquestionably prefers that the Dominion lose it. Tom then warns that if Tain succeeds, the Jem'Hadar will likely launch a massive retaliatory attack against the Alpha Quadrant and orders Sisko to evacuate Deep Space Nine of non-essential personnel and have the USS Defiant ready for battle. Sisko requests permission to take the Defiant into the Gamma Quadrant to rescue Odo, but Tom refuses and explicitly tells him his top priority is to guard Bajor. Directly after the meeting, Sisko instructs the senior staff that as a volunteer mission he is going to the Gamma Quadrant with the Defiant to rescue Odo, justifying it as they will be able to warn the station and the task force of 9 starships being sent in case of an oncoming attack. All the senior staff has volunteered for the mission, and the Defiant's bridge is full. Garrick gets a repeated message from Todman, but Sisko suggests that communication was too degraded to be legible. They leave, go through the wormhole, and head directly for the Founder's homeworld. Lovak and Tain describe the situation. The nearest Jem'Hadar bases to the planet are too far, giving them time to bombard the planet. Pressure is again put on Garrick to extract information from Odo about the planet's possible planetary defenses. Garrick is less than keen, finding that Odo likely put all relevant information in his report to Starfleet, and besides, he doesn't like the idea of interrogating someone who could change their form at will. Tain presents a device that emits a quantum stasis field that inhibits Odo's shape-shifting ability. When Lovak's angry that he wasn't informed about this device, Garrick does not seem pleased with this news, and Tain suggests that Tal Shiar should continue the interrogation. Garrick is physically upset and insists that Odo is his prisoner, and that it is his duty and responsibility to question Odo further. Tain agrees, with skepticism. Suddenly, the Defiant's cloaking device fails, leaving the crew totally exposed and vulnerable to any Jem'Hadar ships. Security Chief Eddington admits that he has sabotaged the cloaking device under direct orders from Admiral Todman. Despite Sisko's noticeable frustration with Eddington's betrayal, Eddington requests to continue his duties, giving his word he will do nothing else to impede the mission. Sisko observes that it is his policy not to question the word of a Starfleet officer, and he promptly grants Eddington's request. Sisko gives Chief O'Brien a 2-hour deadline to fix the cloak, despite the chief telling him it will take 10. Garak begins to question Odo in using the quantum stasis device. Odo's about ready to turn to liquid form and is discomforted at being forced to maintain humanoid form. As time passes, Odo begins to lose cohesion and taunts Garak. It's really bothering Garak to see Odo in such pain, and he encourages Odo to confess anything, even to lie, as long as he gives up some information. Odo admits that, despite all the atrocities his people have committed, he still desires to return to the Great Link, which is information he hadn't shared with Starfleet, allowing Garak to deactivate the device and end the interrogation. When Odo returns to his natural state and pours himself into the container, Garak holds his head in his hands, showing deep regret at what he has done. O'Brien has managed to get the cloaking device back online. He returns to the bridge to give Eddington a piece of the damage as a jab. Sisko orders the cloaking gauge to tell Stax to resume course. Despite learning about the Great Link, Garak confirms to Tain and Lovok that Odo never broke, and that there is no new information that can be learned from him. Tain then decides Odo has outlived his usefulness and orders him executed, but Garak suggests that killing Odo might cause problems to Starfleet and the Bajoran government, since Odo is an officer of their militia serving on a Federation outpost. Lovok speaks first and agrees that Odo must not be executed, but based on the fact that not all founders might be on their home planet, Odo could be useful in future engagements, concluding with that he wants Odo to take Odo to Romulus for further studies. At that moment, Tain and Lovok hear that the fleet has entered the Omaran Nebula and will reach orbit of the Founder's homeworld in 15 minutes. Upon hearing of this, Tain concedes to Lovok, orders the helmsman to drop out of orbit and reports to the bridge. Once Tain is gone, Lovok tells Garak that he knows he's protecting Odo out of friendship. Lovok tells Garak that he knows he is a practiced slayer, but assures him that he is a practiced observer and will be observing him very closely. The Cardassian Romulan fleet arrives at the Founder's homeworld and begins their bombardment. They're initially pleased with the damage they are doing, only to be horrified when a technical officer reports no change in lifeform readings, which is impossible. Garak quickly starts that the Founders are using an automated transponder to send back false life sensor readings for the planet. The planet has been evacuated. Suddenly, they find that they've been outnumbered when 150 Jem'Hadar fighters emerge from the nebula. Garak realizes that this was a trap and that the Jem'Hadar had been waiting for them all along. The battle begins with Jem'Hadar destroying the Cardassian cruiser Krennic and the Romulan warbirds Makar and Belak, losing main power. Lovok loses contact with the engineer and goes to investigate, leaving Tain in command of the bridge. Garak, seeing the battle not going well, makes his way off the bridge to locate and save Odo. They run to Lovok, weapon drawn, who surprises them by giving them information they need to reach the runabout. When asked why, Lovok explains that no changeling has ever harmed another, revealing himself to actually be one of the Founders. He must know the plan to attack the Founders' homeworld was indeed concocted by Tain. When they learned of it, they pushed it forward in order to destroy the Tal Shiar and Obsidian Order, viewing them both as serious threats, but not any longer. As far as the Founders are concerned, only the Klingon Empire and United Federation of Planets remain a serious opposition, but there are already plans in motion to take care of them. Odo is again presented with the choice to join the Great Link, which he again declines. Lovok allows them the chance to escape and is beamed off the doomed ship. Garak makes his way back to the bridge to attempt to save Tain, but he refuses to leave. Garak tells him that Lovok was a changeling, and Tain rues that he has become old, and let his pride override his instinct, noting that in the old days he would have kept someone as smart as Lovok at arm's length. He also tells the pleading Garak that no matter what happens now, he has no intention of returning to his quiet retirement with Mila. Odo has to knock Garak out to force him onto the runabout and escape. As they escape, Tain really knows that the Founders are very good. Next time, we should be more careful. The runabout escapes their own ship before it is destroyed, but is pursued by the Jem'Hadar and loses its shields. When all seems lost, Garak apologizes and Odo accepts the apology, saying that he understands Garak's desire to return home. The Defiant decloaks and is able to transport Odo and Garak aboard. The Defiant attacks and destroys a number of Jem'Hadar fighters, clearing itself a path back to the wormhole. Speaking with our automata on a monitor in his office, Sisko states that it appears no Romulan or Cardassian ships survived the battle. Todman likens it to the Battle Wolf 359, a comparison that visibly rattles Sisko, but one that he agrees is fundamentally accurate. The Admiral tells Sisko that he won't file charges against him or the crew, whereas the next time he'll have to either court-martial him or promote him. Tom assures Sisko that in either case, he'll be in a lot of trouble. Sisko promises to keep that in mind. Standing in the charred remains of his shop, Garak reflects on past events and begins to clean up the mess, when Odo appears in the doorway to thank Garak for leaving his confession out of his report. The two agree that the whole conversation is best left forgotten, as Garak decides to rebuild his shop, noting the irony that he is actually a very good tailor. Odo asks Garak if they could have breakfast together sometimes. Garak remarks that he thought Odo didn't eat, to which Odo simply confirms that he doesn't, before exiting. Interesting. So now let's take a look at some continuities surrounding this episode. The Changeling says to Odo, at the end of the episode, the Dominion already has plans for the Klingon Empire and the Federation. The single line turns out to be a powerful foreshadowing of a story arc the series proceeds to undertake during its 4th season, as the Changelings insert an infiltrator to turn the two powers against each other, setting up the Federation and Klingon War. In reality, the line from this episode actually inspired the fictional conflict. Due to the actions of the series' regular characters, the war also later becomes the Dominion's first defeat, as their subterfuge is discovered and the Federation-Klingon alliance against them becomes stronger than it originally was. Nevertheless, at the end of that same arc, the Dominion gains a foothold in the Alpha Quadrant when the Cardassians, whose war with the Klingons caused the issues between the Federation and the Klingons, join the Dominion. Odo's revelation to Garak that he wants to go home to his own people is the first time Odo admitted to this. His desire to return to them became a major theme throughout the 6th and 7th seasons. In the 5th season episode, in Purgatory's Shadow, it was revealed that Nabrantaine was not killed in the battle, but taken prisoner. This episode contains the second reference to the fact that the Jem'Hadar are genetically engineered to be addicted to a particular drug, after the Abandoned. The drug remained unnamed until the 4th season episode Hippocratic Oath. It is also the first reference to the communications array established in the Gamma Quadrant in the episode Destiny. This episode's portrayal of Garak as someone capable of knowingly committing nefarious actions is in keeping with his quick, almost reflexive killing of Entek, and to Kenny Gilmore's warning to Kira not to trust him in Second Skin. And now finally, let's take a look at some trivia surrounding this episode. This episode, along with The Probable Cause, was broadcast by the BBC in a feature-length format on its first airing on March 13, 1997. There are many references to ancient Rome dictator Julius Caesar in this episode. The title The Die is Cast is taken from words repeatedly spoken by Caesar 49 BC, a led a legion of troops across the Rubicon, an illegal act that effectively ignited the Great Roman Civil War. Garak also quotes Shakespeare's Julius Caesar to Tain, I'm afraid the fault, dear Tain, is not on our stars, but in ourselves. Garak and Dr. Bashir had discussed the play in the teaser of Improbable Cause. Fittingly, A Family Business, which aired 2 weeks later, Sisko christens the runabout that replaces the USS McCall lost in the Die is Cast as the Rubicon. Excuse me. This is the last episode of the series to depict Sisko clean-shaven since the 1st season episode Emissary, although he was later seen without facial hair in his photo as Gabriel Bell on Nog's pad in the 4th season episode Little Green Men, and in the montage scenes of What You Leave Behind. Admiral Todman has the distinction of being the first 24th century era admiral to wear the operation's gold colors. A script of this episode was sold off in the It's a Wrap sale and auction on eBay. Nice. So overall, I think this episode is pretty darn good, and as the conclusion to the previous episode, Improbable Cause, this one is pretty dang good, so yeah. So overall, I give The Die is Cast 5 warp cores out of 5. One way to tune in is wait till the next episode, Explorers. So, until then, live long and prosper, everybody.